Today we are going to be looking at some of my TBR for June. Now my reading in June is going to be massively influenced by the fact that Bree at 4 Paws in a Book is bringing back her Amazing Readathon for its 4th year. I'm going to be on Team Torchwood, so I know what my bonus prompts are for the readathon, but I am still mulling over my TBR for that. I want to have plenty of options as the specific prompts we're reading for each leg drop randomly, and we're not going to know which order we need to pick up the books in, so I want to make sure that I have some longer and some shorter books for various points in the month for the different prompts, no matter what way they roll out. So I am still working on that, and I will have a full Amazing Readathon TBR coming out probably sometime this week. In the meantime, and in this video, I thought we could talk about my book club and buddy reads, my monthly / yearly challenges, and of course this month's TBR Tailspin. So the first book club that I'll be reading along with in June is Angela Hart's Cozy Mystery Book Club. This month we'll be reading Murder at the Beacon Bakeshop by Darci. I don't read along with the Cozy Mystery Book Club every single month. Ever since this year's books were announced, this is one that I have been really looking forward to. We are following Lindsay, who leaves her job on Wall Street and her celebrity chef fiance to move to a small town and to pursue her own dream of being a pastry chef. The setup for this one is a little bit, not more violent, but a little bit more intense than I would usually expect from a cozy. It tells us right at the start that once Lindsay is set up and making this new life for herself, her fiance and his new girlfriend both appear, and the fiance's girlfriend chokes to death on a donut, leaving Lindsay looking really suspicious. And I think this could be a really good series. The covers are all really cute. I hope that this is going to be one that I want to continue with. The next book club is Dances with Dragons, kind of bi-monthly, every other monthly. What are we calling that? Discworld read along that runs every other month. In this book club, we don't read the books in order. We vote each month for a book that we're interested in reading that hasn't been read in the past 2 years, and then we read that as a group and discuss it on Discord. The votes haven't been finalised for June yet, so I don't know for sure which book we'll be reading, but going by the conversations that are being had, I think it's going to be Snuff, obviously by Pratchett. This one is the 8th and, if I remember correctly, final book in the Watch subseries, which the Watch and the Witches are my favourite subseries, so I'm always up for a reread of these books, but I think I might only have read Snuff once, which puts it completely way behind the other Watch books. I must have read double digits, so I would be really interested to read Snuff again. In Snuff, we're following Vimes as he takes his wife and child off to the countryside for a relaxing family vacation. When he gets there, he of course finds that many crimes are being committed. And if I remember correctly, this one kind of introduces goblins into the Discworld series. There is, I think, a lot of talk of slavery, indentured servitude parallels, caste system parallels. I don't really remember it that clearly, but I do think it was an interesting one. It also is the direct sequel to Thud, which I read just this month, so it would be nice just to continue on. It's not part of the book club, but I might also on my own reread Night Watch. This is the, I want to say the 6th book in the Watch series, so it comes just before Thud. But I'm gonna go see a live play of Night Watch during June, so I would maybe like to read the book or reread the book for the 10th time before we go see the play. The edition that I quite fancy is the Penguin Modern Classics edition that came out just last year, a couple of years ago. And although I've read Night Watch a couple of times, I haven't read this version, and as far as I know, it's got a bit more commentary. It's got some footnotes, some discussion of things that are happening in the story and how they relate to other things in the world, allusions, references he's making. I think it could be a really interesting read, so I maybe want to get to that, but I will have to try and decide so that I read it early if I want to. The final The final book club that I'll be taking part in is Faye at Books and Chocoholic. She's running a read-along of T. Kingfisher's Saints of Steel quartet, and we're doing one book every other month. So this month it is book 2, and that is Paladin's Strength. In this we are mainly following Esteban. He is our paladin. They are sort of holy warriors. Esteban was a side character in the first book, and he is the romantic lead in this one. The paladins of the Saint of Steel are holy berserkers, and just before the series starts their god has died, which decimates their ranks and leaves them all with tons of juicy trauma to work through. In the first book, Esteban was really teasing, really supportive of Stephen, main character, and in this one he is leaving the city to track a supernatural killer that we saw start to kick off in the first book. I remember not enjoying this one as much as book 1, but I enjoyed Esteban so much more when I reread book 1 in March, maybe? So I'm looking forward now to getting his book. So onto the challenges that I'm doing. Each month I am doing 3 challenges. I have been working at cutting down how many I sign up for this year. I still picked more than I should have done, but we have 3 monthly ones, not including the year-long bingo board type challenges. So there's Buzzword cover challenge, and the Adventures in Aeldia that ties in with the Magical Readathon. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Adventures in Aeldia. This, as I said, it's part of the Magical Readathon, which is hosted by G at Book Roast, and this one is a kind of choose your own adventure map. So for me this month, my journey has led me to the prompt to read a weird book or recommendation. And for this one, I've picked Sky Daddy by Kate Folk. I saw Books and Lala talk about this one, and I've actually got some friends in real life that have read it, and they have all said that it's weird, it's strange, it's both what you think it will be from the summary, but also it's more than that. The concept is basically, as I understand it, following Linda, who is in love with an airplane. And she has got it into her head that her destiny is to marry the love of her life by dying in a plane crash. And this book is how she goes about setting that up, maybe. I have heard it's somewhere between the lines of the sentient romance and litfic. It sounds interesting. I did debate taking this on holiday with me last month, and then I decided probably not. But it's definitely going to break up all of my fantasy novels, and I think it'll be a fun time. For Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon, the June prompt is to read a book with a one-word title. And for this, I'm going to put Bromantasy by Máire Roche. This is coming out this month, and I have pre-ordered it, so I don't have a copy. But the tagline is perfection. 2 heroes, 1 brain cell. It sounds like it's very much going to be an idiots to lovers trope, which I'm all about. I love how colourful and bright the cover for this is. It screams just queer joy and queer happiness and fun. It looks fun, and I think it's going to be from the description. It says that this is a cozy queer fantasy about the mortifying ordeal of being known by your totally platonic best friend and the epic quest that might force you to confront the truth. So in this we have Juniper and Mo. They accidentally get volunteered, or Juniper accidentally volunteers them both, for a quest to kill a fearsome monster, but is totally over his head because he hates camping, he hates the dark, and there's no way these foraged mushrooms are going to sit well in his stomach. But Mo goes with him. They realise the terrifying beast they've sworn to kill is just a scared little girl torn from her family, and they're off to find the true villain of the story and maybe a happy ending. So I think this looks really good. This is one of my most anticipated books of the summer, the summer. Again, it's pre-order, so I just have to have my fingers crossed that it's gonna arrive in a reasonable amount of time. And then for the Buzzword cover challenge, the prompt is something with wings on the cover. And technically Sky Daddy would work for this, but I'm also going to be ridiculously stupid myself and add more books to the TBR because that's what I need during Amazing Readathon. It'll be fine. I'm going to put the Griffin's Lair by Kelly Armstrong. This is the second book in the Royal Guide to Monster Slaying series. This is a middle grade series about a brother and sister who rule the kingdom. In the first book, one of them is destined to be the queen, the other one is destined to be the royal monster slayer. They switcheroo to suit their personalities better, and we are following Rowan, who is now the monster slayer. I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was a lot of fun. I need a middle grade for this year's Our Fantasy board, and I already bought the second one, so it's the perfect fit. I'm being unusually self-aware with this series, and I am gonna buy the next book in the quartet as I read the previous one. Because it's middle grade and I don't read a lot of middle grade, I'm trying not to fall into my usual trap of buying an entire series. So I have this one. We'll see how this one goes before I pick up the third book. Rowan is the royal monster hunter. Her brother is destined to be king, but her mother's cousin is still determined that his children should be the ones to inherit the titles, and will stop at nothing to show that Rowan and her brother are too immature to lead properly. In order to save Face after an accident involving the rapidly growing Griffin, Rowan comes up with a plan. She and her friends, along with an entourage of monstrous companions, will make a journey to the mountains to release the Griffin back into the wild. What starts off as a simple task soon becomes a dangerous quest as the group encounters numerous rare and deadly monsters along the way, including wyverns and a word I'm not even going to try and pronounce. Nothing is easy when you're a monster magnet like Rowan. So yeah, it sounds like we're going to get a very Welsh sounding monster. So I'll be intrigued to see what that is. But yeah, this is going to fit for the Buzzword cover challenge. So with all of those out of the way, I am going to be trying to double up as we go through the TBR roles. If there's anywhere that these ones that I've talked about would fit on there, then that's what we're going to do to try and keep my pre-Amazing Readathon TBR as small as possible, because that's definitely going to add a lot more in. So fingers crossed that that works out that way, and we'll go on to the rules and then the first rule. The updrafts will throw you forward, gliding with another dragon knocks you back. The tailspin in the middle can go forward or backwards, but it always adds a colour cover prompt to the TBR. Blue is a mood read, green is a prompt from the prompt card stack, purple is a personal goal, red is a reading challenge, some kind of readathon that is happening either month-long or year-long. The yellowy orange colour means we have to continue a series, and the black is for a reread. Starting off strong with the 1. I read His Face is the Sun by Michelle Jabès Corpora in April during the Magical Readathon, and I talked about it in my Buddy Reads with Booktubers video, which I'll link below. But I had a great time with His Face is the Sun. It is an ancient Egyptian inspired political fantasy. We are following 4 very different characters, and events have obviously, they're pulling them together. In the first book, we followed a princess, a priestess, a rebel, and a tomb robber. And I was completely hooked. I loved the setting. It was so vivid and so much fun. I really had a great time with the book. And when I finished it, I was like, I know, because the reason I buddy read it is that the second one is coming out soon. But I'm restrained. I have self-control. I'll get to that when it comes out in paperback. I'll put a bit of space. But then it was on NetGalley. So I'm gonna read She Knows All the Names, which is book 2 in the series. I was going to say that since it's book 2 in a series, I don't want to tell you too much about the summary and give too much away, but honestly, looking on Goodreads, there is like nothing to give away. It says, magic, adventure, romance and horror collide in this lush, epic, ancient Egyptian inspired trilogy, perfect for fans of Lee Bardugo, Tahira Mafi and Sabatier. So, There's very little about book 2, but honestly I didn't know what book 1 was about and I had a great time, and I think the same will happen here. I am really looking forward to following Sita. She's the princess in the first book, and I think the she knows all the names is what her name means, so I think she's probably, maybe, if not going to be the main protagonist of the 4 POVs, she's going to be maybe like pushing the narrative, I don't know. But I really enjoyed the kind of political storyline that we saw largely through her eyes in the first book, and that whole I have been a princess, I have seen horrors happen, I'm starting to see the world in a new light, I think could be a really interesting plotline. So I have very high hopes for this one. I'm hoping it's going to be another 5-star. That's a 5. We have a second continuous series, and for this one I am, again, I don't have a book, it's pre-ordered. I'm going to put Father Material by Alexis Hall. Father Material is the 3rd book in what I think is a trilogy called Material World series. We had Boyfriend Material, Husband Material, and now we're on to Father Material. And I have reread Boyfriend Material and Father Material already in the previous 2 months. And I'm so stoked for this one. Boyfriend Material is fake dating, basically, and very idiots to lovers. We are following Luke, who is the son of 2 kind of aging failed rock stars. He works for a charity called Crap that is all about preserving a species of beetle, and because he's a bit of a mess up, he ends up in the papers. He has to rehabilitate his image, and to do that he agrees to fake date Oliver, who is a very upstanding, respectable lawyer who also needs a date for a big family event that's coming up. It's such a good story, I love it, it's hilarious. There's lots of food porn, there's lots of wacky situations, kind of found family friend groups, very Bridget Jones's Diary in the kind of friend situation. And then Husband Material I really enjoyed, and rereading it I gave it 5 stars, but I know a lot of capital R genre romance readers didn't like the ending, but honestly it's still a happy ever after or a happy for now. It's just maybe not what you were led to expect. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. I love Alexis Hall's contemporary romances, and this is no different. So I'm really excited about Father Material, but I am a little bit unsure. The premise says that as their friends are growing up and getting married and moving on to having babies, Oliver and Luke aren't ready for that, and instead they're gonna get a puppy, which I wonder if this is going to hit the kind of romance tropes in the head, and that by the end of the book they are going to end up with a baby. But I kind of like that this series has been all about them not hitting all of the romance tropes that we expect them to. The first book is fake dating, and then after that it's about them being true to themselves. So do they really necessarily need to follow the steps that everyone expects them to follow, was very much the plot of Husband Material. And I'm not sure where I see Father Material going. I personally would love if they do take an unexpected route, if they do continue to forge their own path and not hit those kind of milestones that their friends are hitting. But I am also aware that there was quite a lot of negative reviews of the second book for not hitting the tropes readers expected. I wonder if this one is going to get us to the end, the married and a baby with a nice kind of fluffy bow. I don't know. Alexis Hall tends in his romances to be unafraid of not following genre conventions, or to meet them, but in a slightly roundabout way. So I'm really excited about this one. I hope it's going to be really good. Is it my most oh god, there's so many good books out in June. I was gonna say that that's probably my most anticipated book, but Bromantasy is also coming out in June, and so is Catherine Arden's new book. Yeah, I do need to also, I need to read something for my most anticipated book of the month project, and I don't know what it is. I'll get back to you on that. 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we're adding a green cover, and we are spinning the wheel, which brings us out a little bit higher. Green cover, keeping it simple with Paladin strength. Very, very green cover. Very, again, are these my favourite covers of any book series ever? Very, very possibly. So isn't it pretty? Did I read the blurb for this one? I don't think I did. Perfect blend of cozy fancy romance and classic fancy adventure, featuring an order of secretive nuns, a swashbuckling paladin, and a strange hive of rabbits. He is a paladin of a dead god, tracking a supernatural killer across a continent. She is a nun from a secretive order on the trail of the raiders who burned her convent and kidnapped her sisters. When their paths cross at the point of a sword, Esteban and Clara will be pitched headlong into each other's quests, facing off against enemies both living and dead. But Clara has a secret that could jeopardise the growing trust between them, a secret that will lead them to the gladiatorial pits of a corrupt city and beyond. $17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. The prompt for that green space is to read a book from an indie author or a small press. I hate this prompt. Or I don't hate this prompt. I like this prompt. And the thing is, I actually do read an awful lot of self-published and indie published books. I do. The problem I have with this is when it comes up in a readathon or like this, it's so hard to find. Because like on Goodreads, if it's find something in the title, then you can just search it. Or if it's a certain colour of cover, I have those shelves on Goodreads. And I realise as I say it, the solution is to create a Goodreads shelf of all the indie published, self-published books that I have on my TBR. But it's a lot of books. It's gonna take a long time. And I probably should just do that. It's also just so hard now because there's so many like things that sound like they're a small publisher, but they're actually an imprint of a really big publisher. So the prompt's great. It's me that's lazy. And maybe I'll do that for next month. Maybe that'll be like an evening project. We'll see. The solution is just to pick something I know is self-published and has been on multiple TBRs already. So I am going to read Point of Knives. This is the second book in the Asteriant. I'm calling it the Asteriant series. I don't know if that's right. This one is just by Melissa Scott, but the series as a whole is by Melissa Scott and Lisa A. Barnett. This is book 2, but it's a novella. So I think it came out when the books were republished last year before, with these new covers. And I bought all 5 that were available at the time because the books came out originally in the 90s and I thought they were just getting a recover and a relaunch, and I was like, just buy the whole set because they sound amazing. But then they brought out book 6 and I don't have that one yet. But Point of Hopes was the first one. I really enjoyed it. It's a secondary fantasy world, murder mystery, investigative mystery, in a world where the fantasy element is more that it's another world. It's not very magic-y, if that makes sense. It's more I'm trying to think of things to comp it to. Maybe like Sword Point, if you read Sword Point, or a much more serious version of the City Watch series, something like that. In the first one we had a retired soldier, and they're called pointsmen, they're basically policemen, and the one we were following was maybe like a detective level. The city is divided into various points, so you had Point of Hope, Point of whatever, and that's the kind of districts that these police forces work within. In the first book, Nicholas and Philip were investigating a series of missing children. There was quite a lot of astrology worked into the magic of the world, which I found really interesting, and there was quite a lot of kind of, you know, returning soldiers, outsiders, prejudices happening inside the narrative. It was all really interesting, and while nothing romantic happened in the first book, I do think we are setting up a very, very, very slow burn romance, so I'm all about that. Nicholas and Philip are back, drawn together from opposite sides of the law to investigate a series of murders whose impact stretches deep into Asturiant's underworld. Philip is now a professional knife, working for a prominent crime lord, while Nicholas is an adjunct point, sworn to uphold the city's laws. By rights, they should be wary foes, but instead they find themselves sharing an investigation as well as a bed. So not as slow burn as I thought, but awesome. I lost my place. I just went as well as a bed when their search takes them into the heart of Point of Knives, and at its centre the Court of the 32 Knives, the hub of Asturiant's underworld. A single misstep can mean disaster, and single doubt could be the end of all their hopes. And this is from Queen of Swords Press. That's an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the prompt here is to read a standalone. So for standalone, I am gonna do what I said, I'm gonna be smart, and I'm gonna stick in Bromantasy here as well. And then for the sake of finishing, a 20. At least it happened, but 1. And that's the board over. So those are the books that I have currently on my TBR for June. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not concerned at all. I have a spreadsheet which I've been tracking my thoughts and feelings for Amazing Readathon. There are 8 city leg prompts for that, and then there are potentially 6 bonus prompts for every round, and there is the chaos weekend in the middle that's all about short reads. I currently have like 30 odd books on that spreadsheet that doesn't include any of these. So once I have finalised my Amazing Readathon TBR, I will film that, and then I will have a better idea of how many books I am actually looking at reading this month. I also potentially have one more buddy read. I've been speaking to Annie at the Aeldia, and she's interested in trying her first ever buddy read. So she has my TBR for this month that I have planned so far, and she has my Our Fantasy bingo board, and if there's any that she's interested in, we're maybe gonna buddy read them either in June or July. So I don't know which book it'll be, and I don't know if it's this month or next month, but if you go and check out Annie's channel and she's filming her TBR after this, then she might have that information already. But otherwise I'll try and remember to mention it when I get to that book through the month. I know this has went a little bit off the rails at the end, but thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you would like to see that Amazing Readathon TBR. It is coming, I promise. And I hope that I will see you talking about all of these books in the videos that are coming out in June. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.